What's up guys, BZK here, welcome back to Overwatch. The video I'm bringing you guys today is how I am getting better with GENJI and what you can do to improve your game as him. If you find the tips and tricks I give you today helpful in any way, a like would be greatly appreciated. I want to make a disclaimer and say I am on console, so right away my potential with GENJI is still high, but limited, whereas PC players can play and do everything better, quicker, and faster. However, that does not mean that they maybe don't use the same tips to improve their game. One of the things I am talking about is just plain ergonomics. Mouse and key makes it a lot easier to perform simple tasks for someone like GENJI with his wall climbing, for example. It is just easier and quicker to perform, all while being able to look around much easier and faster than what a controller can provide. But one way to help tremendously is having a scuff controller. Especially with GENJI, it is very helpful to be able to jump, wall climb, and perform all of his abilities while still having your thumbs on your sticks. Now I realize not everyone is ready to just drop $150 or more on a controller, so hopefully these other tips will help you out too, but right away you will notice a difference, I promise, and it is an absolute must if you want to improve your GENJI on console. In my gameplay, you will notice that my sensitivity is pretty damn low too. That's just because I've had a low sensitivity ever since Halo 3 back on the Xbox 360. Is it better to have a higher sensitivity with GENJI? In some ways, yes, probably it is, but at the same time, if you can't hit anything to deal damage, you know, what is the point? GENJI is a fast-thinking, fast-timing character, and I found a sensitivity that works for me. I mean, if it isn't broken, why fix it? So try and find a sensitivity that you are comfortable with, and try not to change it up too much because that can severely mess up your aim. If you're going to try and change it to find your sensitivity, do it gradually. Another tip I highly suggest utilizing is his wall climbing passive. GENJI is a ninja, I think we all know that. He isn't a character for being dead center of a firefight. I found out that the more agile you are, the more annoying and distracting you are, which is what GENJI is for. You only have 200 health, so if you don't have any of your abilities readily available, you're pretty damn vulnerable. A way to rip and dip is to abuse his wall climbing. Staying mobile to make the enemy miss is key with him, as with a character like Tracer. In fact, the more mobile you can be, the better. Wall climbing gives you an advantageous elevation and immediate cover from underneath you, assuming you are on top of a building or a platform, and it also makes headshots much more likely. You will notice I climb a lot, and that is because I'm trying to attack from pretty much every angle possible, while at the same time trying to stay alive. Only when I have my deflect and or swift strike available is when I can be a bit more aggressive. Then when things are not in my favor anymore, I dip out and keep wall climbing to keep the enemy guessing and to get my cooldowns back. Then I go right back at it, and doing this over and over but effectively is one of the most annoying things a GENJI can do. Make sure you're using GENJI's mobility with his double jumping, wall climbing, and his swift strike as well. This is a good time to explain the next tip, and that is to use your swift strike very carefully. It is a great way to chain together kills when timed properly, but can also get you out of a sticky situation as an escape route, so to speak. For example, if the enemy Zara launches her graviton surge and sucks you in, you can just dash out and get away. Same with May's freeze gun if you are fast enough. The trick is to know when to use it for escaping rather than for attacking. Keep in mind, it's automatically resetting if you are getting a kill with an enemy damaged by it. So if you decide to be more aggressive, make sure the enemy you damage with your swift strike dies, so you immediately get it back to either bail out of the fight or chain together another kill. As I mentioned in my previous video, it is vital to know when to be aggressive and when to be passive. I personally believe that there are really only two ways to play GENJI effectively: a sneaky yet diving playstyle and a defensive supportive playstyle. Knowing when to switch between the two should yield you amazing results, and here's really what I mean by that. GENJI has amazing DPS and disruption potential. If you are not near your team, you have to be aware of that and play accordingly. A lot of GENJI is playing aggressively to distract the enemy and to get off DPS as best you can without dying. If you are just by yourself, your survivability is greatly lowered, so using your abilities like wall climbing and swift striking can help sneak away from the enemy and avoid dying. Otherwise, you are just of little use to your team. I like to use the term rip it and dip it because you are trying to get as as much DPS off as possible while just trying to stay alive. A defensive playstyle caters more towards staying alive and helping your team finish off kills. You won't be behind the enemy lines trying to be an annoying little shit like you love to be. You will be with your team trying to deal as much DPS as possible. An example indicator telling you to switch playstyles could be if the other team has everyone alive versus having only a few alive. To know how to switch between the two effectively really only comes down to your situational awareness. The next tip is to watch the pros. Watch the pros playing your character and notice what they are doing. For Genji, a few I recommend, or really the only I would recommend, are Shatter 2K, Shadowburn, and Seagull. Seagull is my personal favorite, but that's just, personal preference. These guys are just unreal with Genji, and I will be the first to tell you that your Genji will get a lot better by just watching what the pros do. A lot of the time, they won't give you like a tutorial or a breakdown of their every move, but notice how they are playing the hero. Notice when they attack, how they attack, who they attack first, and what they do to get the most DPS off, and how they stay alive. You will notice really fast that their movement is always on point, probably because they're on PC, but recognize what kind of situation they are in and what they do to counter it. I want to get you guys to think about all these newer things that you see, and through time it will come more and more natural. Now, I'm not saying you can just sit there and take notes, you certainly can, but if you just watch the gameplays, you will naturally get better simply by just seeing what the possibilities are and seeing them perform at a top tier level. Anyone wants to be an amazing Genji player, then set the standard to what you see the pros doing. These guys are the best in the world at Genji, and it's your job to study and understand why. My final piece of advice I can give you is to just simply play the character and put in time. Probably not what you wanted to hear, I get it, but if you want to get better with any hero, doesn't matter who, you need to put in the time to get the experience. Through time will you start to gain a better understanding of how your character specifically works. Your judgment will greatly increase, which ultimately increases your confidence. Just play the character as much as you can. Practice against AI in a custom game, or what I like to do is go into the firing range and try and work on specific things. In my case, I feel my Dragon Blade is a bit weak, so I will try to get better at chaining my Swift Strike in with my Dragon Blade to yield me more limbs. I found that it is a great yet underrated way of getting a better feel for your abilities. Now, just because I do these things does not mean I am a god with Genji. I am far from it. Believe me, I would consider myself to be only a slightly above average Genji player, but again, I'm not on PC, excuse me, I'm on console, so I mean, you can take that with a grain of salt. Console players will never ever be as good as PC players, just for obvious reasons, but my point is that I am getting better every day, and I like to think that all these tips are the reasons why. If I can help anyone to get better with Genji, then I will be happy, because he isn't meta currently, but you can certainly make him meta if you know how to use him and use him effectively. Guys, I want to thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed and learned something useful. Slap a like on this video if you did. Subscribe for more Overwatch. Enjoy the rest of the gameplay. And guys, have a nice day. YouTube, peace out.
Drop the beat! My ultimate is ready!
Objective is under attack!
Battle now.